when the Secretary of State testified before the House Foreign Affairs Committee. It did not go well.
Can you guarantee to this committee that we will get them out?
Have any Americans been arrested, beaten, abducted, or killed by the Taliban or ISIS-K since we left?
Your bizarre abandoning of Bagram airfield led directly to 13 Marines murdered in Kabul. You should resign.
Was it part of your plan to rely on the Taliban to ensure the safety of Americans trying to flee the country? Because that's what happened.
Did state at any point in the evacuation process block American citizens from leaving Afghanistan?
No, we did not.
None. Your testimony before Congress is that state didn't block any American citizens leaving Afghanistan.
To the contrary, my officers, men and women, ran into the building from around the world to help Americans get out.
It's a simple yes or no. I heard you do it with Mr. Connolly. You can do it with me. Yes or no? I just want to clarify. You didn't block anybody. State didn't block any American citizens.
No.
You say you got a plan to get those people out of there, but they can't get on an airplane without documents. You have nobody over there to print them documents. How are they going to get out of there? What is your plan?
Congressman Mark Green, you just saw there, I'll be here in a minute. President Biden essentially ran on three things. Ending the war in Afghanistan, well, that ended in a well-documented disaster. Getting COVID under control, even Mr. Biden says things are going in the wrong direction. And a massive new deal, rewriting the social contract in America with a $3.5 trillion spending plan that touches every American's life from cradle to grave. Tonight, those spending plans are in real trouble. Just a minute from now, we're going to explain to you what you may or may not get from the government and how much your taxes are going to go up to pay for all these things. Clearly, there's a lot of things going on behind the doors at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. We're going to unpack it all with the best and brightest in politics. We begin with Congressman Mark Green, who, as you saw, spent the day inside that really extraordinary hearing with the Secretary of State. Congressman, appreciate you being with us. It would be hard for anybody to have been harder on the Biden administration over the past 6 weeks than you were with their Afghanistan policy. Is there anything that you heard from the Secretary today that changed your mind?
Absolutely not, Leland. Thanks for having me on your show. I was disgusted because all I heard was the same stuff we've heard from President Trump. President Biden, which is to blame it on President Trump. And Blinken got in there today and just did a lot of winking and nodding and basically gave us the same story. It's all Trump's fault. It's all the intel community's fault.
All right, well, we'll give the Secretary his say. Here is him saying essentially that it's all President Trump's fault. Take a listen.
Congressman, the deal that the previous administration struck involved, as you rightly said, committing to remove all U.S. forces from Afghanistan by May 1st of this year. And in addition, as that deal was being negotiated and then put into effect, pressing the Afghan government to release these 5,000 prisoners, many of whom went back to the battlefield. And at the same time, in return, getting from the Taliban a few commitments.
Doesn't he have a point that President Trump is the one who negotiated with terrorists and made a deal with the devil?
So President Trump did make a deal, but it was conditions-based. And on 3 occasions in the last year of his time in office, he stopped the withdrawal and bombed the Taliban back into compliance. In the start of this Biden administration, they failed to do that. As the Taliban made gain after gain, they didn't stop. In fact, they withdrew air power. It withdrew intelligence support for the ground force, which was the Afghans, and they saw us as basically abandoning them. And then with the pullout in Bagram, I mean, it was obvious we were doing just that. So that's when they basically melted into the countryside.
As we were watching the hearing today and then some of the sound bites, we noticed that the Secretary wasn't there. Seemed kind of unusual for him not to be in the hearing room. Any idea why not?
Well, I think the Chairman Meeks, gave him a pass and basically said, you don't need to be there. We're not in session. But, the truth of the matter is there was a lot of impassioned testimony or questioning of him, and it would have been good for him to be there. He missed seeing the emotion that is on really even Democrats. There were several of the Democrats who were pretty passionate.
They were. I'm also interested. Did you get any sense of emotion from him and understanding what's happened, what's gone wrong, and perhaps even not necessarily accepting responsibility, but at least an acknowledgement of how badly this has gone and what's happened to America's prestige around the world?
No, not at all. And in fact, Leland, I specifically, throughout the testimony, he basically said NATO was in agreement, that they had worked together on the withdrawal plan. I very quickly, when I got the opportunity, pointed out that a member of Parliament on the floor of the House of Commons called his withdrawal shameless or shameful, and then basically said the United Kingdom should disconnect or become less dependent on the United States. So you can't, I mean, it was just smoke and mirrors from Blinken today.
Well, and there's another hearing tomorrow. We'll cover it. Congressman Mark Green with us in Washington tonight. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right. They're talking about this in Washington, too. There's even more concerning news out of Afghanistan. Remember this guy? His name's Ayman al-Zawahiri, Osama bin Laden's #2 in al-Qaeda. Apparently, he is